what I'm seeing is that it's not enough to ride the coattails of a design program or think that you know everything because you were successful in a different industry. It requires humility, determination, working really hard, taking feedback well, communication skills. There's just a lot more that goes into entering the space rather than just being like, I guess I'll be a brand designer and whatever. We'll see what comes my way.
Welcome to Brands Without Borders, a travel show that will also teach you how to build a business. I'm your host, Katie Smith, an art director, full-time traveler, and the founder of DropCap Design. Now let's get into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome back to Brands Without Borders. I am so glad that you are here with me this week. As you can see, if you're tuning in from YouTube, I am back home in Birmingham. I'm staying with family before I go back to Montana. It was so bittersweet leaving friends in Costa Rica, but so much easier knowing that I will be back in just a few short months. But for now, I'm enjoying time with family, being in the South for summer. The heat is the same here as it is in Costa Rica, so no adjustment there. But today's episode, I'm really excited to talk about because it's a question that I'm getting a lot in our summer internship program. I did an internship program with the studio a few years ago. It worked really well. I had someone reach out a few months ago, gosh, time flies, asking about doing an internship with DropCap this summer. And I decided wow, this is a great opportunity to actually create a full program. And when I was thinking through how I wanted the internship to operate, I thought, what did I feel like was missing from my internship experience as a young designer going through design school? I did 3 internships, and I felt a lot of times like I was just there, just existing in the office. None of my projects really mattered. I wasn't getting real mentorship. Everyone was too busy. And what I really needed was real world experience and to build my portfolio. And there was nothing that I created in those internships that I could actually use. And there was no real feedback, group critique that helped me become a better, more confident designer. So our internship, I structured to have weekly group critiques, feedback with me, lots of one-on-one mentorship, the opportunity to add 10 portfolio projects to each intern's portfolio, curriculum that I have created just for our interns that walk through how to start and run a design business. So it is so robust. There's so much education there, and it's been awesome. But one of the questions that has been coming up frequently over the past couple of weeks, is it too late to become a brand designer in the space? I mean, it's so saturated. There are so many people doing it. People are self-taught. You don't even have to go to design school. There's no accreditation program. Is it too late? Have I missed the window? So I wanted to record a whole episode on it because I have, as always, very strong feelings on the subject matter that I want to share. Back when I was in high school and I was just getting into art, I had this art teacher named Mrs. Grimes. Now, on the first day of school, Mrs. Grimes, who was so eccentric and so bizarre in hindsight, but actually had one really insightful piece of wisdom that I have carried with me to this day. And she said, look around this room, and there are 2 distinct people who will do well in this class. One is the naturally gifted artist. There are some of you who were just born with a creative gene. Art comes naturally. Your skills are already there. It's not going to take much, and you'll succeed because you have natural talent. The second person wishes they had natural talent and is hungry enough to work hard enough to get it. They are going to work overtime. They're going to try and experiment with a lot of different things. They're going to put in the hours to compete with those who have natural talent. And by the end of this semester, you are not going to be able to tell a difference between those who had natural talent and those who just wanted it. Because at a certain point, the window that separates natural talent from those who are hungry shortens. And the hard work is what shortens that gap until there's no distinction between the two. And I really took that to heart. And it means that if there's something you really want that you don't have a natural inclination for, I mean, for me, I would say it's learning languages. It just does not come naturally, but it's something I really want. the time and effort that I put in to close the gap is going to make what is just not a natural inclination for learning languages turn into a strength or a skill set. Like I will close that gap and that actually won't matter at a certain point. And I think the same is true with design and brand design in particular. There's a difference between having a natural instinct for it and then a hunger. So I think anyone who's hungry enough, there is space for you in this industry, but it is too crowded to just not have a natural inclination and not care. It's honestly too crowded to have an inclination and also not care. You have to be hungry to enter the space, but there is room. And in today's episode, I really want to walk through the pros and cons of entering in as a brand designer right now and determining whether or not it's something you should pursue. So let's start with the pros. There are three main pros that I would identify as entering this space right now as a brand designer that I honestly wish was there when I was getting started 10 years ago. One is that there are so many more resources available. This is not the beginning of an industry, the beginning of an experience. You're entering in where there are masterminds, mentors, templates. People have written about the process, how to price, where to find clients. There are free resources. There are courses. There are downloadable ebooks. There are Facebook groups. There are endless resources on how to become a brand designer that can start your educational journey that does not require a formal education. So if you're wanting to enter this space, if you're willing to do the research and the work to learn about it, those resources are available. I do a lot of Pinterest searches, YouTube searches. There are podcasts on brand design. There are Skillshare courses on being a brand designer. There are endless resources, books on Amazon. I mean, there are so many things. Creative Market has like presentation templates. There are endless resources that were not available when I was getting started that are making it easier to enter the space now. The second pro of entering the space now as a brand designer is that there is a proof of concept. There's basically an example of what success looks like. Now, if you're a student of manifestation or believe in the manifestation model, which I do, it works. Basically, what you need is a visual example of someone who has achieved the success that you're looking for in order to train your brain that it's possible and start to manifest it in your own life. So if you're wanting to be a successful brand designer, there are endless examples of brand designers in endless countries and cities and areas that have successfully built this kind of business model that you can look up to, have as a muse, emulate as you manifest it for yourself. So use these people as inspiration, guidance, mentorship, devour their free content, study how their business is run, who they work with, who their clients are, what their life looks like. Entering in the brand design space now means that there are endless people to emulate. It is a proven concept for success. I often say that brand design is like the wedding photography of graphic design. There's endless work. It's been done a million times. It's a proven business model. It's pretty much guaranteed. It's like low risk. If you're willing to put in the work and do it right, there's a path there for you to succeed. And it's actually not that big of a risk. It's not like you're trying to build a business, as a personal shopper. Like brand design is such a low risk industry that has a very proven market and proven path to success. So that is another benefit of entering now. Like I remember when I first started talking to my parents about wanting to freelance, I talked about this a lot in episode 1, the origin story. But basically, this wasn't a super common industry for graphic design, freelance branding. And they were kind of like, okay, we kind of trust you, but hope that you know what you're doing. Well, those who are entering now, you can be like, this person does it. This person does it. Here's what this business looks like. Here's how much they made, how much they can charge, how many clients that they've found. So it's a lot easier to even convince your partner, family, friends that the business stream that you have is actually a very viable career path. And the third pro of entering the space now is that you can actually differentiate and specialize really easily. So because brand design is an industry that is well received, well respected, you can actually carve out your own unique perspective, your own unique niche right within a proven industry. So, for instance, I always say that if you are planning to differentiate and specialize, do it based on three factors: either industry, style, or type of client. So, industry, maybe you are doing brand design for equestrian companies, like those in the horse world. You know a lot about horses, you know it almost as well as you know about graphic design. You want to specialize in the space, you want to work with brands in the space and become known as like the expert equestrian brand designer. Great, differentiate. Brand design is enough of a known career path that you easily can, and you can enter the space and become the expert go-to for brand design in that industry. You could also be known for a very unique style. Say you're a maximalist or you love collage design. You can start to do the very specific type of design that drew you into the field to begin with over a lot of different industries or clientele. Or say that you really like working with a specific person. So maybe you love working with moms who are starting side hustles. You could talk a lot about how to build a business, the importance of differentiating, different ideas, and use your style and branding and your experience in the online space, really talking to clients who maybe have a similar life experience as you. So there's a lot of ways to really tailor this industry to match you, your personality, your unique skill set, because it's a pre-established industry. So you can further specialize. You don't need to be so generic and still be successful. Now, on the flip side, there are a couple of cons that I just want to make you aware of as you're considering entering in the field of brand design. One is that you're going to have to work harder to get into it. Yeah, there's more competition for sure. The bar is pretty high. There's a lot of people doing amazing things, and I would say clients are aware of the level of quality that exists. So you really can't phone it in any way succeed or be hired again or even hired in the first place in this space. It requires a level of quality and seriousness that just comes with the territory of a pre-established industry. So a good example of this, again, I've learned a lot through having our internship program. Some of our interns are coming in from different backgrounds, self-taught, formal education, really new to the space, trying to reestablish in the space as a brand designer as like a second or third career path in life. So what I'm seeing is that it's not enough to ride the coattails of a design program or think that you know everything because you were successful in a different industry. It requires humility, determination, working really hard, taking feedback well, communication skills. There's just a lot more that goes into entering the space rather than just being like, I guess I'll be a brand designer and whatever. We'll see what comes my way. It does require quite a bit of commitment and discipline and dedication to the space because your clients have a lot of options and you need to give them a reason to choose you. The second con of the space is that technology is coming in hot. AI is here, and in order to stay relevant and keep up with the changes of the industry, you need to keep up with new technology, new tools. You need to understand them enough to speak to them, decide if they're for you, and either move on or integrate them into your process. Now, the great thing about AI and new technology coming into the space is that it levels the playing field. So all of the existing designers and those who have been in the space for a while and have established a bit of a clientele are also needing to learn these new tools and technology. So with you entering in, there's a level playing field where you can really specialize in something new that we're all having to learn at the same time. You'll always need to be a student of the industry that you choose for your career. You can't just learn it once, open up shop, and be like, I think I know it now. You'll forever be a student in order to stay relevant, to keep your edge in your field. And so coming into the space when the whole industry is having to kind of learn and integrate something new into our process is a great time to enter the space, but it also can be a complex time to enter the space because while you're also learning the fundamentals, you're needing to learn the fundamentals plus the new components. So it's just something to keep in mind. I wouldn't say it's a total con, but it's just something to keep in mind. Now, the third thing to be aware of is that the pool of competition is now international. So because of obviously the internet and how much accessibility we have to people in different parts of the world, you're able to find the perfect solution to your project or problem, no matter where they live, where they work from, what their background is. And so your competitors aren't just the other designers in your city, it's the other designers in the world. So the stakes are a lot higher. And I just go back to that same thing I said at the beginning, which is you get what you put in. Like your effort will level the playing field, and it won't matter the background, the formal education, the natural skill set that you started with. All that matters in the long run is the amount of effort and hours and determination and commitment that you put in along the way. It will level the playing field, and you will be just as capable as anyone else currently in the space. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, heck yeah, I'm ready. I want to do this. I want to be successful in this space. I want to make my mark in brand design. I have a couple of recommendations for how I would get started and what I would focus on first. So the first is to pick a focus. So there are a lot of like buzzwords in the branding space. There's strategy, styling, art direction, brand photography, copywriting. There's marketing focus, social media, content creation. There's so much that goes into the brand design space that can really utilize a lot of different skill sets. So don't pigeonhole yourself into the most obvious choice. In the branding space, really take inventory of what comes naturally to you, your own skill set, and then look at the industry as a whole and think, okay, where should I focus? What naturally comes to me? What do I enjoy? What do people ask me for? And find your own little focus or niche within the industry. The second thing I would recommend is to find a mentor. So find someone you can learn from, whose content you can absorb, whose communities you can become a part of, whose coaching services you can sign up for. Find someone that you can learn from who will be a mentor in the space, because they'll not only teach you what they're learning, you'll fast track your own learning process by their own experiences and lessons along the way. And not only that, but I'll even say that people I've coached and mentored in the past, I've sent so many clients their way. I have hired them for projects when I've needed extra designers. I've opened up my Rolodex of contacts. I mean, I've worked with so many brands at this point, and there's so much work that I couldn't possibly do myself. And so finding a mentor not only fast tracks your own learning process, can get you great opportunities, can get you into design communities you didn't even know existed, but can even get you clients. So it's really just win-win. I highly recommend finding a mentor, getting their content, become a part of their community, their world, their products, their services, their courses, their everything, and stick with them and learn from their philosophy and process, and they will become your muse for your manifestation. It all circles back together. And then third, I have said this repeatedly, put in the hours, put in the effort. Really dedicate yourself to the craft, to the industry. If there is a type of design that you wish you could do, but you don't have the skill set for, be proactive. Go on YouTube, go to Skillshare, learn how to try different forms of design, how to do different aspects of the branding process. If anything's confusing, research it. If anyone's doing something interesting that you wish you could add to your portfolio, research it, try it, test it, experiment with it, do personal projects, do briefing challenges. There are endless creative brief challenges on Instagram where you can test out new projects, find community, add to your portfolio, gain exposure. I mean, put in the effort and become an absolute passionate student of the industry to make it, to get in the gates. Like, it's just vital. And lastly, I want to share a couple of books that have really motivated and inspired me as a designer to add to your bookshelf as you also consider joining into the industry and the field. So the first book that really made a huge difference for me is called The Artist's Way. So this is a book that's all about finding your special sauce as an artist. There's this practice called morning pages that I still do to this day. It is such an inspiring self-discovery book that I recommend to any new designer or new artist who's trying to find what makes them special. Highly recommend that book. The second book that I recommend is called The War on Art. And this is like a book on tough love. It's how to get unstuck, how to get past that mental block of like writer's block or designer's block where you don't know what to do and you're feeling imposter syndrome and you're competing with yourself. Like, this is the tough love book that every designer or artist needs to read. The third book that I recommend is called Steal Like an Artist. And this is all about being original, finding what makes you unique, how to kind of the difference between inspiration and copying. And it's just a very inspiring book about putting yourself out there and letting the world know who you are. And then the fourth book that I recommend is called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And that book is all about committing to your craft, doing what it takes to succeed. It's all about her journey as a writer. She's the author of Eat, Pray, Love, and it translates so well to art and design. And I highly recommend that book. It really speaks to any creative profession and how to turn your passion into your vocation. So between those books, between these tips, I'm hoping that this is really helpful as you enter the space. There is certainly room for more and new designers, and I'm excited to see you if you are planning to become a brand designer and you want to learn about our internship program. Please shoot us an email, hello@dropcapdesign.com, to learn about when we will be opening our doors for internships again. And in the meantime, you can also download a free resource on how to start your studio. I highly recommend. So that will be in the show notes for you to download for free. It's based on episode 5, I think, on what you really need to be a brand designer. So I am really excited to hear your thoughts. Please leave a review, leave a comment, rate the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, and I will see you next week for your next episode of Brands Without Borders. See you soon.